why art is considered subjective, even though there are some hard, fast rules. Let's discuss. So here are two examples. I love both of these artists. I love both of these styles. Up here we have a lesser known Vlaminck. I don't know if I'm ever saying that right. This is Fauvism. This is a beautiful example, joyful, expressive example of Fauvism. Down here we have a very famous painting called Automat by Edward Hopper. Edward Hopper was an American realist. And Edward Hopper does a lot of things like a loneliness amid the city kind of thing. He was beautiful. A very, very famous painting of his was Nighthawks. If you see it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've seen that painting. You would know it. At any rate, you cannot compare these two. I recently was talking to another artist who does realism, and I showed her Fauvism, and she's like, a child looks like did that. I'm like, no, this actually takes a great bit of knowledge of color theory and depth perception, because note how the cool colors are in the background, the warm colors are in the foreground. That alone creates a sense of depth. And notice how it goes warm to cool, front to back. Even those little details in little houses. Again, the house on the right is further away, and that's cool tones. The houses on the left are a little bit closer, and those are warm tones. This act, not to mention the unique brushstrokes and just the distinct voice in general, needs to be respected and is not something a child could do. However, upon seeing her work, I knew immediately she would appreciate Edward Hopper, which she did because she likes realism. Listen, we tend to have a bias towards what we do as artists. I tend to be very much in the vein of expressionism and Fauvism within Mosaic, and of course I prefer that style, but it still doesn't mean I don't appreciate realism and what you can do with realism, especially when you incorporate surrealist aspects. So I don't like it when other artists shit on other types of art. I kind of have in the past, especially with realism, but because Edward Hopper was awesome in that he managed to develop a distinct style within realism, and that is extreme talent. That is very, very real talent. To sort of fit within something so rigid, yet be so expressive within it, and I think that's why he became so big. But again, you can prefer, like I prefer this. I prefer Fauvism 1,000 times over than realism, but I still appreciate both. And this is why you really cannot compare and why art is subjective, even though there's hard, fast rules. Because like I said before, taste is subjective. But you can appreciate one thing and recognize the skill that it takes, even if you don't necessarily like it. Does that make sense? You really cannot compare these two. As far as skill goes, they require two totally different skills, two totally different ways of seeing the world. If you can't, you simply can't say this one's a 5 and this one's a 10, because they're speaking wildly different languages. So I think people get sort of narrowed down to, well, I don't like it, therefore it's bad. It looks too simple, therefore it's bad. That they think the more complex, the better it is, the more skill, therefore the better. It's not how art works. It's just not. And I think we need to break out of our molds and have an open mind when we look at art, even if it's not something we do, not something we're naturally inclined to appreciating. Do a little bit of research, do a little bit of digging, and realize just how much skill is involved in doing something simple. Just like I can appreciate the creativity that goes into something that even falls under the umbrella of realism. There is a lot of creativity here, even though it's very realistic. So again, that's my little tangent. I think I summed it up nicely. Bye.